welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are going
deep?
going deep into the future of healthcare.
That's right.
And we're talking about a future where medical devices are learning and evolving right alongside us.
It's incredible, yeah.
Thanks to AI.
Big topic.
Huge.
And it's already happening.
Yeah,
It
so
is.
to help us unpack all of this,
Mhm.
we're taking a deep dive into a draft guidance document from the FDA.
Okay.
It's called,
Big title.
yeah, Artificial Intelligence-Enabled Device Software Functions,
Okay.
Lifecycle Management and Marketing Submission Recommendations.
Wow.
It's a mouthful.
It is.
But essentially, it's a roadmap for developers and manufacturers who are trying to navigate this exciting
Very exciting.
but complex world of AI in healthcare.
It's really a brave new world.
It is.
And I think this document is really important because it's going to help ensure that these devices
Right.
are safe and effective.
For all of
For
us.
patients, for doctors, everyone exactly.
So before we get too far ahead,
Sure.
let's back up.
Sure.
What exactly are we talking about when we say AI-enabled device software functions, or AIDSFs for short?
Okay, so,
This is for those of us who don't speak fluent FDA.
right. Think of it this way. You have an app on your phone that analyzes a photo of a mole
Okay.
to see if you might have skin cancer.
Mm-hmm.
The app itself isn't the AI.
Right.
It's the software running it that's using these complex algorithms,
Okay.
AI model.
To actually look at that image and tell you what it thinks.
To understand it and give you that insight, that's an AIDSF in-action software
Okay.
inside a medical device,
Got it.
using AI to do something amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not the hardware.
No.
It's the brains behind
It's
it.
the brain.
The software that's
It's-
using the AI to make decisions.
And the FDA is very specific
Okay.
about how these AI models are developed. They have to be transparent. Developers need to explain how they work,
Okay.
what kind of data they were trained on.
So it's not just about being smart. It's about being responsible.
Responsible AI
Yeah.
that we can understand and trust.
Exactly.
Right.
Which brings us to a critical piece of the puzzle, data.
Data is like the fuel
Right.
that powers these AI models.
Absolutely.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Right.
So if the AI is trained on bad data,
You're going to get bad results.
you're not going to get good results.
Exactly.
So what is the FDA's take on all this?
They are really focused on this.
Okay.
Because they're saying that the data that's used to train these models needs to be representative
Okay.
of the entire patient
A
population.
whole enchilada.
The whole enchilada.
You can't just skew it towards one age
Right.
group.
Or gender or ethnicity.
Right.
It has to work for everyone.
Everyone. So they're basically saying, like, hey, if you're going to create an AI that's going to diagnose heart disease,
Yes,
don't just train it on data from
Right.
men in their 50s.
exactly. It needs to account for women, different age groups,
Different ethnicity.
different
A
ethnicity,
whole spectrum.
the whole spectrum.
Okay, so we've got our AI models.
Right.
They're trained on good data,
Good data,
diverse data.
diverse data.
Now, how does the FDA actually evaluate
Okay, so
these devices?
one of the key things is performance validation.
Okay.
They need objective evidence that the device actually does what it claims to do.
So you can't just say that it works.
No, you have to prove it.
You have to prove it.
Yeah. And this might involve clinical trials
Okay.
or studies where the AIDSS is tested in the real world.
So they're really putting it through its paces.
And it's not just about performance either.
Performance.
They're also looking at how easy these devices are to use
Right.
for doctors and nurses.
Right, because what good is a brilliant AI
Exactly.
if nobody can figure out how to use it?
It's got to be usable.
Usable.
Yeah, intuitive.
Intuitive.
You to understand.
They also want to make sure that it's protected
Yes.
against all the bad stuff out there.
Cybersecurity is huge.
Cybersecurity huge.
Because we're talking about sensitive medical information.
Exactly.
So these devices have to be protected from hacking and data breaches.
It's like we're building this amazing car, but forgetting to install seatbelts.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Cybersecurity.
Critical. Yeah,
So this is all pretty mind-boggling.
it is.
And it's clear that the FDA is taking this very seriously.
They are.
Trying to walk that line between
Yeah.
encouraging this innovation,
Right.
but also make sure that it's safe.
Safe and effective.
For all of us.
For all of us. That's the key.
Yeah.
And part of that is transparency.
Okay.
They want developers to be open about how these AI models work.
So not just to the FDA.
To the public as well.
Public.
Yeah. And that's where the idea of model cards comes in.
Model card.
Model cards.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more.
Okay, so think of a model card as a summary
Okay.
that explains
Okay.
key aspects of the AI model,
Okay.
but in plain language.
In plain language.
that everyone can
So
understand.
it's not this.
Fax box.
Yeah.
It's not a mystery.
Yeah.
You can look inside.
Okay.
and see how it thinks.
So it's like the AI's resume.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It shows its strengths,
Okay.
its limitations.
What it's good at, what it's bad at.
Exactly. And the FDA thinks this is really important
Okay.
for building trust in these devices.
Yeah. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
You're more likely to trust something if you understand how it works.
That's right.
I mean, how many times have I blindly trusted my GPS
Right, yeah.
only to end up
In the middle of nowhere.
in the middle of nowhere? I wish my GPS had a model card.
Right. A little more transparency.
Exactly.
And when it comes to our health,
Yeah.
we deserve that.
Absolutely.
We need to know what these devices are doing
Mm-hmm.
and how they're affecting our lives.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like my brain needs a software update to keep up.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in.
But let's try to recap
Okay.
what we've learned so far about these AI-enabled...
ADSFs.
Yeah, AIDSFs.
Okay, so we've talked about how they're basically software inside medical devices
Right.
that use AI models to analyze data
Okay.
and help doctor make better decisions.
Right.
We talked about how the FDA is taking a really deep look
Mm-hmm.
at everything from the data used to train the AI
Yeah.
to the cybersecurity measures.
To protect that data.
Exactly. And it all boils down to making sure that these devices are safe, effective, and
That's a
accessible
lot.
to everyone.
To everyone.
That's the goal.
That's a great goal.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious to learn more about the specific recommendations that the FDA is giving.
Okay.
What are some of the things that developers need to keep in mind?
Let's start with a device description.
Device description.
It's basically an overview of the device.
Okay.
It outlines what it does,
Okay.
who it's for,
Got it.
how it works.
So it's like an instruction manual for the FDA?
You could say that,
Okay.
but it's more than just technical.
Okay.
The FDA is saying these descriptions need to be clear
Clear.
and concise
Concise.
because not everyone
Right.
reading these documents is going to have a PhD in computer science.
Exactly.
So it's got to be easy to understand.
So it's not just about the AI being smart. It's
Yeah.
about the information being
Accessible to
understandable.
everyone involved,
Yeah.
from the developers to the doctors to the patients.
And that clarity extends to the user interface as well.
Yes, it does. The FDA wants to see that the device is intuitive.
Intuitive,
Easier
easy
to
to use,
So even if it's doing
complex calculation.
complex calculations behind the scenes,
Yeah.
it needs to be simple
Simple.
for the people actually using it.
That's right.
I don't need to understand
Yeah.
how a car engine works.
Exactly.
Be able to drive.
That's a good analogy.
Okay, so we've got
Device description.
device
Let's
description.
move on to data management.
Data management, yes. This is where the guidance gets into
Okay.
the types of data
That should be used.
that should be used to train and validate the AI models
Okay.
and how this data should be managed.
To make sure that it's good data.
Good data, yeah.
So it's not just about having a lot of data. It's about having the right kind of data.
the right kind of data that represents
The diversity
of the patient
the
population.
patient population.
And they're really focused on this idea of bias.
Yes, bias is a big concern.
Bias.
Because it can really skew the results.
Can you give an example
Sure.
of how bias might creep into the data?
Okay, so let's say you're developing an AI
Mm-hmm.
to analyze medical images.
Okay.
But all the images you're using to train it
Yeah.
are from these really high quality,
Okay.
state-of-the-art scanners.
Fancy scanner.
And so the AI might become overly reliant.
Right. On those perfect images.
Okay.
And then when it encounters images
Right.
from an older scanner,
In the real world.
in the real world, it might not know what to do.
Because it's never seen that before.
Exactly.
So the FDA is basically saying, don't train your AI on a silver platter
yeah.
of perfect data
Right.
and then expect it to work
In the real world.
in the real world.
where things are messy.
Where things are messy.
and complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's about being
Realistic.
realistic.
Yeah.
This is all so important.
It is.
It's reassuring to see
Yeah,
how carefully the FDA is considering all these different factors.
to ensure that these devices are used responsibly.
Responsive.
That's the key.
Okay, so we've covered the price description.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered data management.
Yes.
What's next?
Model description and development.
Model description and development.
This is where it gets technical. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so developers need to provide a detailed explanation of their model.
Okay.
This includes things like the architect,
So it's like opening up the hood.
like showing the FDA the engine.
Yeah.
Exactly. The FDA wants to see that developers really understand their model,
How it was built.
how it was built,
How it makes decisions.
how it makes decisions.
And it's not just about showing off
No.
how smart the AI is.
They also need to be upfront about its limitations.
So they need to say,
Here's what it can do,
Yeah.
and here's what it can't do,
right,
at least not yet.
right,
So it's about setting realistic expectations
right,
and making sure that the model is used appropriately.
appropriate.
You wouldn't use a hammer
Yeah,
to screw in a light bulb.
exactly.
So each tool has its strengths and limitations.
Okay, so we've got
Device description,
device description,
data management,
data management,
model description and development,
and what's next?
validation.
Validation.
That's where we put it all to the test.
Okay.
We'll dive into that next time.
I'm already on the edge of my seat. Until then, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for part 2, where we explore the exciting world of AI-enabled device validation. Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time we were talking all about the FDA's guidance on AI-powered devices.
AI in healthcare?
AI in healthcare, yeah.
It's amazing how fast it's moving.
It really is.
And we're just at the beginning.
Yeah, we really are just getting started.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
So last time we went pretty deep
We did.
into how these AI models are actually developed.
And managed.
And managed.
Yes.
All the details.
All those details.
But before we jump back into that,
Okay.
I'm curious how these devices are actually being used.
Yeah.
Out there in the real world.
Out in the real world.
Are we talking about robot surgeons?
Robot surgeons.
Is it that futuristic?
Yeah. Is it like a sci-fi movie?
Well, we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
Though I do think it's a possibility.
Okay.
But the reality is,
Yeah.
AI is already being used in a lot of different medical specialties.
Okay.
In ways that you might not even realize.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Okay, so let's start with radiology.
Okay.
A field where AI is already having a big impact.
So like X-rays.
That's right.
CT scans, MRIs.
Exactly.
So is it actually reading those images?
Well, imagine an AI that's assisting radiologists
Okay.
in reading those images.
Like an extra set of eyes?
Like a superpowered set of eyes.
With AI?
With AI,
Okay.
they can go through tons of images
Okay.
really quickly
Okay.
and flag anything that looks unusual
Okay.
or that the radiologist should take a closer look at. So like highlighting the important parts. It's like having an assistant
Okay.
that's highlighting
All the important clues.
all the important clues.
Okay.
So the radiologist can focus on those.
That makes sense.
And that can lead to earlier
Diagnosis.
and more accurate diagnosis.
Which is better for everyone.
Absolutely. It's a win-win.
Win-win for
everybody. So where else are we seeing this?
Yeah. What other areas of medicine?
Well, cardiology is another one.
Okay.
So think about an AI that can analyze EKGs.
Those squiggly lines?
The squiggly lines that track your heart's electrical activity.
Right.
And they can see patterns
that humans might miss.
That
could indicate a heart problem.
Exactly. So it's like
a superpowered cardiologist constantly monitoring your heart.
Which, I mean, that sounds pretty good.
Pretty amazing.
Especially for someone with a heart condition.
Especially for people with a heart condition.
So it's not just spotting problems.
No.
It could actually...
It can predict future events.
Okay, now that's getting really side.
Yeah, it's like a crystal wall for your heart.
Okay, what other...
Other specialties.
Yeah.
Oncology is another one.
Okay, so cancer.
Cancer, yeah.
So these AIDSFs.
They're analyzing biopsies.
Okay.
Predicting...
how likely the cancer is to come back.
Exactly.
And they're even being used...
to personalize treatment?
Personalized treatments based on a patient's genetic makeup.
Wow, so it's not one size fits all?
No, not anymore.
It's
tailored medicine.
Tailored medicine.
To each individual.
That's incredible.
And in neurology.
Okay, neurology, the brain, AI is being used to detect abnormalities, diagnose conditions.
And even predict the progression of diseases like Alzheimer's.
So it's like every area of medicine is
being touched by AI.
It's like we're on the verge of revolution
in healthcare.
But we need to be careful.
We need to make sure
that these devices are used responsibly.
Responsibly and ethically.
Ethically, yeah.
Because we're talking about people's lives.
Absolutely. So that brings us back
to the FDA guidance. And this idea of validation. Which is where the rubber meets the road.
So how does the FDA actually
validate these devices? Well, they want to see that the AIDSF actually does
what it's supposed to do.
What it claims to do.
So like if it says it can diagnose a certain condition.
To better be able to.
And do it reliably and consistently.
Yeah.
So they're looking for proof. So this might include things like clinical trials.
So like real world
testing. To show that it actually works.
So it's not just the developers saying,
take our word for it. To show the data.
They have to show the data.
And the FDA really scrutinizes that data.
They look at it with a fine-tooth comb.
They want to make sure it's all there.
And it's
and that it supports their claim.
It's a rigorous process.
It is. It has to be.
And they're also looking at
how easy these devices are to use. Usability. So can a doctor actually use this device
in a real-world setting?
Without pulling their hair out.
Because if it's too complicated, it's not going to be effective.
No, it defeats the purpose.
It's got to be intuitive, easy to understand.
Yeah.
So it's like the difference between a smartphone that's really easy to use,
user-friendly, versus one that's just clunky and, drives you crazy. You want something that makes your life easier.
Exactly. And in healthcare,
that's really important.
That's critical.
You don't want to add to the stress.
Right. So you don't want to add to the cognitive load.
Yeah.
So we've got device description, data management,
model description and development,
validation,
performance monitoring.
Yes.
So this is like once the device is out in the world.
It's not over.
You can't
just set it and forget it.
Okay.
The FDA wants to
That you're still keeping an eye on things.
That the device is still working as intended.
Because things change.
Things change.
The AI is learning. Pick up bad habits.
Pick up bad habits, yeah. So it's like having a student, you send them off to college.
Right.
You want to make sure they're still studying.
They're not just partying.
Yeah, just party, yeah.
So you're checking in. Making sure they're on the right path.
Exactly. And that's what performance monitoring is all about.
So it's about being proactive. Not reactive.
Not waiting for something to go wrong.
But constantly monitoring making judgments and that the AI is always
performing at its best.
And
it's not being biased.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure
that it's treating everyone fairly.
Regardless of background, ethnicity,
every
right description. Data management.
Model development, validation, performance monitoring.
What's next?
Cybersecurity.
This is a big one. Because we're talking about
sensitive data.
Sensitive medical information.
You need to make sure
it's protected. And the FDA is taking this very seriously.
Okay.
They have a whole section in the guidance
that
talks about cybersecurity.
So they're looking at potential vulnerabilities in the software, in the data management systems.
It's like building a fortress.
Okay.
You don't just build the walls.
You got to think about the windows.
The doors.
The roof.
Any potential weak points.
So what kind of threats
are we talking about?
Yeah, what are the bad guys trying to do?
Well, one thing is data breaches.
Where they steal the data.
They steal patient information.
Like medical records.
Medical records, insurance, details, genetic data.
That's all valuable stuff.
Very valuable.
On the black market.
It's like a gold mine for hackers.
So it's not just about stealing data, though.
No, it's also about disrupting.
Disrupting the device.
Imagine if someone hacked into an AI.
And messed with it.
That's controlling a patient's vital signs.
That's scary.
That's really scary.
It could be life or death.
So
it's not just about data privacy.
No.
It's about patient safety.
Patient safety is paramount.
So the FDA is saying...
You need to be proactive. About cybersecurity.
It's like building a house.
Yeah.
You don't wait till it's finished.
You put locks on the doors. You do it from the beginning. You build it into the design.
Okay, so...
Device description, data management.
Model description and development.
Validation, performance monitoring.
Cybersecurity. My brain is full.
Mine too. It's a lot.
But it's good stuff.
It's all really important for understanding
how these devices are being developed
and regulated
so they can be safe and
for everyone.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to go back to
those model cards.
I
think we need to spend a little more time.
I'm still a little fuzzy on what they are and how they work.
Model cards are all about making those AI models less mysterious.
Okay.
More understandable. More trustworthy. So we'll dive into that next time on the deep dive.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent the last 2 episodes exploring this world of AI-enabled medical devices.
A lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, it has.
We've talked about how they're developed, how they're regulated, the potential benefits.
The challenges.
Yeah.
It's a complex landscape.
It really is.
But we're just at the beginning.
Yeah, we are.
The field of AI in healthcare,
it's
constantly evolving.
New discoveries, new innovations all the time.
It's exciting.
It really is.
So in this final part of our deep dive,
I want to kind of look ahead to the future. What's next for AI?
What's next?
In healthcare.
That's the big question.
What are the emerging trends?
Yeah.
The possibilities.
The challenges. It's like we've climbed one mountain.
Yeah.
And now we see
a whole
range of new mountains to climb.
I like that.
So what are we looking at?
Yeah, what are we looking at?
Well, one of the most exciting things on the horizon is this concept of federated learning. It's a mouthful.
It is.
But it's basically a way to train AI models on huge amounts of data. From lots of different sources.
Without actually having to
move the data
to
a central location.
I'm already lost.
So imagine you're trying to train an AI to diagnose a rare disease. You need a lot of data to do that.
Right.
Ideally from patients all over the world. But getting access to all that data.
That's a challenge.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Because of privacy concerns and regulations.
You can't just go asking hospitals for their patient records.
That would be a disaster.
Exactly.
So that's where federated learning comes in. Instead of bringing the data to the model, we bring the model to the data. So the AI can travel.
Like a digital nomad?
The
AI is a digital nomad.
It goes from hospital to hospital.
But learning from each data set.
And it never actually sees
any personal information.
It's just learning from the patterns.
So it's like sending the AI on a world tour. To learn without ever leaving home.
Exactly.
And this protects patient privacy.
Yes.
So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win for everyone.
For everything.
Innovation and privacy.
What other trends are you seeing?
Another really interesting one is explainable AI.
Explainable AI or XAI?
XAI.
We've touched on this a little bit.
We have.
But I'm still a little fuzzy on what it actually means.
So it's about creating AI models
Okay.
that can actually explain their decisions.
And not just giving an answer.
Not just spitting out a diagnosis.
But actually saying.
Here's how I got to that.
Okay.
Here's why.
So the why.
The why is important.
Because if an AI is going to recommend a treatment,
right,
I want to know.
How did it come to that conclusion?
Yeah, how did it get there?
What factors did it consider?
What are the risks?
What are the benefits?
Yeah.
So it's about transparency.
Transparency.
Building trust. It's like the AI showing its work.
Yeah, showing its work.
So you can understand how it got to the answer.
Okay, so what else is out there? What other possibilities are you seeing?
Well, personalized healthcare.
Personalized healthcare.
AI could tailor treatments to your specific needs.
Wow.
Taking into account your genes, your lifestyle.
So it's not just
one size fits all.
One size fits all.
It's personalized.
Personalized. So how would that actually work?
Well, the AI can look at all sorts of data.
Okay.
Your medical history.
Dude, from your wearables?
Even your social media activity.
If you're comfortable sharing that.
If you're comfortable.
At least a picture.
Holistic picture of your health.
And then what?
And then it uses that information
to create a plan.
A personalized plan.
Personalized plan for me.
For you.
So instead of getting
generic advice.
That
everyone gets.
I could get advice that's specific.
To your body and your life.
For my body and my life.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm on board with this.
It sounds pretty good.
This sounds amazing.
But there are challenges.
There are always challenges.
So one of the big ones.
Okay.
Is making sure that these technologies are accessible.
Accessible to everyone.
Not just a select few.
Because it wouldn't be fair.
If only the wealthy.
The people
access to the best doctors.
The best doctors.
Could benefit.
That creates a whole
other set of problems.
A whole other set of problems.
So we have to be mindful of that.
What else?
Well, we also need to think about the ethical implications.
The ethics of AI.
The ethics of AI.
That's a big one.
It's a big one.
So things like bias. Data privacy. Making sure that humans are still in control.
Humans are still in the driver's seat.
Of their own healthcare.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah, we want to harness the power of AI.
We do.
But we also need to be careful.
And this is a conversation that everyone needs to be involved in.
Not just
the technologists. Ethicists, policymakers.
Patients.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Because it's going to affect all of us.
We all need to be part
of shaping this future.
So where do we go from here?
That's a great question.
We've covered a lot.
We have.
The FDA guidance.
Federated learning.
Explainable AI.
Personalized medicine.
It's clear that AI is going to play a huge role.
It already is.
In shaping the future of healthcare.
It's up to all of us.
Yeah.
To make sure that it's used responsibly.
Ethically.
So stay informed.
Stay informed.
Ask questions.
What's question?
Engage in the conversation.
Don't be afraid
to give up.
Yeah.
Your voice matters.
Your voice matters.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a journey.
It has.
But it's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning.
Stay curious.
Stay engaged.
Stay engaged.
And we'll see you next time.
For another deep rise into the world of science and technology.